Welcome back, Truth Seeker. August 10th, 2019. The big headline this morning is the suicide of Jeffrey Epstein, the Jewish billionaire. And it's interesting that he would die on this day because it's the first day of Tisha B'Av, the day to remember Jewish tragedy. Now, with regards to them saying he suicided himself, notice the name Epstein, his surname, and suicide both sum to 34 in Gematria, the Jewish practice that comes from the Jewish mysticism Kabbalah, the practice of coding numbers into words, and from his trial date where he was found guilty of sex trafficking to his suicide is exactly a span of 34 days. How convenient. And of course, this entire story began with an arrest by the numbers and a trial date by the numbers. So as covered, the name Epstein and suicide both sum to 34. The word murder also sums to 34. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Epstein and murder both sum to 38. We talked a lot about these numbers last weekend with the August 3rd shootings and the August 4th shooting and the freeway shooting in Houston. These are numbers that show up around death and tragedy often. And again, here we are on Tisha B'Av, that's to remember tragedy and death. The name Jeffrey Epstein, just using the alphabetic order, sums to 163, which is also the 38th prime number. So his name, fateful numbers encoded. And you have to wonder, is it even his real name? A lot of people say this guy's an intelligence asset, which means this could be his public name, his public persona. I suspect Jeffrey Epstein's probably not even really dead. Like I told people from the beginning, this whole story, just another contrived distraction by the numbers. The real tyrants, they don't go before courts. They don't get headlines made about them. Jeffrey Epstein, if anything's a fall guy. The name Jeffrey Epstein also has a gematria value of 73, like ritual sacrifice, like sacrifice. And again, here we are on the days of Tisha B'Av to remember the destruction of the temples and a number of other Jewish tragedies. It's interesting that Israel's 71 years old right now. The name Jeffrey Epstein sums to 71, as does Temple. So he dies on Tisha B'Av. Again, Israel turns 71 May 14th, 2019. If you want to come to my blog and find this post, it's the top post right now. I have all of the Jeffrey Epstein news by the number stories linked at the bottom of this post. When it comes I'm going to come back to this being 202 days after his birthday. Come back to that in a moment. But I just want to go back to the arrest on July 6th. Again, we pointed out that day Jeffrey Edward Epstein's 322, like Brooklyn, New York's 223, big Masonic numbers. He was supposedly arrested by the FBI NYPD Crimes Against Children Task Force, which equals 178, and he was arrested July 6th. The day leaving 178 days left in the year. It's also the 187th day, which is associated with homicide. And now here he has supposedly suicided himself by the numbers. Again, check out that song Murder by Numbers, where killing's the sport of the elite. It's as simple as A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. We pointed out how the name Jeffrey Epstein is 71, like sex trafficking. Epstein in the 4 base ciphers, alphabetic order with rules and numerology, and reverse alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. Epstein and minors. Perfect overlap in 3 out of those 4 ciphers. Okay, those are your 4 base ciphers. Alphabetic order with rules of numerology. Reverse alphabetic order with rules of numerology. From his birthday to the arrest was 167 days, which is the 39th prime. Big New York number. New York 39. It's also a span of 168 days. New York City 168. They set the trial date for July 8th, 7/8. New York 78. New York story through and through. And then the trial date had 54 date numerology, pedophiles 54, which he is accused of being, which he has been found guilty of being. They even point out in the article that he was first accused when he was 54 years old. Now he's dead at age 66. The 11th triangular number. The trial date, July 8th, they made a big deal about his plane, the Lolita Express, and how Bill Clinton had flown on it, and Donald Trump, and a number of other celebrities. What's interesting about that, July 8th is the day leaving 176 days left in the year, and Lolita Express is 176. Talk about how this energized the Me Too movement, 176. With regards to Bill Clinton being brought up a lot that day, it was 322 days after Bill Clinton's birthday. And again, Bill Clinton was born Bill Blythe. His biological father died in May 1946. Before he was born, August 46, his mother remarried into the powerful Clinton political dynasty out of New York. Again, this is a very New York story. It's why Hillary was senator there. Bill and Hillary are nothing more than puppets. From Bill's birthday to that day, hearing about him flying on the Lolita Express was 322 days old, 322. Jeffrey Edward Epstein, 322. The number of Yale Skull and Bones. Don't forget Clinton was between the two Bushes, who were both members of Yale Skull and Bones, 322. Don't forget how Tim Russert asked George W. Bush about that, as well as John Kerry, who was in Yale Skull and Bones, and he ended up dead at 2:23 in the afternoon at age 58. That big Freemason number. George W. Bush, 58. So anyhow, go back and see the past videos I did on this. I elaborated more on what 322 is all about, the biblical code. So, just understand, the whole Jeffrey Epstein story was news by the numbers. The day they reported that he was found injured in his cell was a date with 71 numerology. Again, Jeffrey Epstein, 71. As we talked about, sex trafficking is 71. So they built a lot of this story around this number. And now he's dead on Tisha B'Av to, again, remember the destruction of the temples. And what I find curious is that from his birthday to his death is 202 days. And last year, September 11th, 2018, the mainstream media had these stories circulating about the birth of a red heifer, and they connected the stories to the destruction of the two temples and the coming third temple, which is connected to the prophecy of Tisha B'Av, which is today, the first day of Tisha B'Av. Tomorrow's the second day. And all these different headlines up here, these messages, they encoded the number 202. Red heifer's 202. Last year, Tisha B'Av fell on the 202nd day of the year. But all these things they encode in the headline. The end is near, end of the world, born in Israel in 2,000 years, fulfills prophecy. It's all 202. So I'm thinking, there must be something else to this number that has to do with Tisha B'Av that I don't yet know. Because I don't think it's any accident that Epstein's dead 202 days after his birthday, when again, that was the number we first started tracking to figure out how they were encoding these dates of Tisha B'Av. And Epstein is a Jewish man himself. And perhaps he's on his way back to Israel, because Mossad also equals 71. Read about the dancing Israelis on September 11th and how they spent 71 days in jail. So, again, for the whole truth community that got hoodwinked by this story and thought it meant something, they don't understand the most important code, how all news is contrived by the numbers, and if it's in the news, it is a distraction. And that distraction is from the reality of your existence, that you're a slave to tyranny, which is what we all live under, you know. Jeffrey Epstein's arrest doesn't put a nick in human trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking, tyranny. Not a nick. Until next time.